All right, so did you know that in Pennsylvania, our custody factors have been reduced from 16 down to 12? We're going to talk a little bit about it, but it's important that for a longer version of this information, you follow our YouTube page. We're just going to talk about some of the key changes that I see in the factors. This new law goes into effect August 30th, so it's important that if you have a case that's going to be decided after that date, that you familiarize yourself with what the court's going to be looking at and talk to your attorney about it. So we're going to jump right in. Factor 1 didn't change, but there were extensive changes to Factor 2.3. And that formally talked about which party is more likely to encourage and permit frequent and continuing contact between the child and the other party. So I'm going to be kind of looking down. I have both sets of factors here. It'll just make it easier for me to kind of talk about what the differences are. But specifically in this factor, it incorporates language from factors 8 and factor 13, but expands on the language that was already in those factors. So it talks about good faith, efforts to protect the child, not just from child abuse of the child, but also abuse of self. So that expands that language there. It also talked about reasonable concerns, and there's something that we hadn't seen in the factors at all before was about a child's deficient or negative relationship with the other party and how that should not be presumed to be caused by the other party. So that's very new. Factor 3, which previously said that it was the parental duties performed by each party on behalf of the child, now has been expanded, and it specifically states the willingness and ability of a party to prioritize the needs of the child. What types of parental duties were performed in the past, something that was not specifically discussed in the factors, but now is. But it also talks about the future. And I think this is very important when we talk about division of labor in households, how they may have been done before parties split, and then what's being done now. Factor 4 remained the same. Factor 5 was the availability of extended family. Now that's kind of been wrapped into Factor 6, which is the child-sibling relationships, and now it says, and other familiar relationships. Factor 7 stayed the same. Factors 8, 9, and 10, like I said, have been incorporated into other factors. 11 stayed the same. 12 talked about previously the availability to care for the child and make child care arrangements. Now it incorporates the party's employment schedule. So again, something specific. I think most courts consider this, but this is now specifically required by the factors. 13, like I said, was wrapped into 2.3. Factors 14 and 15 that talk about alcohol, drug and alcohol history, mental physical conditions stayed the same. 16, any other relevant factors stayed the same. What's also new, which I think is important, is that people now have to get a copy of these factors within 30 days of receipt of a custody complaint, petition for modification of custody, or petition to intervene. Something that's brand new, so you'll get it.